Welcome to Emotions Unfolded, where every story hits deeper than you expect. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because some truths aren't meant to stay hidden. My name is Ava Carter, and for most of my life I believed one thing, that if I gave everything to my family, they would eventually see my worth. I was wrong. I was the one who woke up first every morning, made sure everything in the house was in place, then rushed to work, carrying responsibilities that were never really mine. Bills? I helped. Groceries? I handled them. Family emergencies? Always me. And yet, somehow, I was still the one who wasn't enough. "Ava, did you hear me?" My mom's voice snapped me out of my thoughts one evening. "I just got promoted today," I said quietly, hoping, just this once, for a different reaction. She didn't even look at me. "That's nice," she said flatly. "On your way back tomorrow, pick up something for Lily. She's been feeling down." Lily, my younger sister, the one who never had to try, the one who was always enough without doing anything. I forced a smile. "Yeah, sure." But something inside me shifted that day. Still, I ignored it, until the night everything changed. We were sitting at the dinner table when my dad casually said, "Ava, starting next month, your salary will be transferred directly to the family account." I froze. "What?" I asked, thinking I misunderstood. "It's better this way," he continued. "We need to start planning Lily's wedding. And honestly, you're not using that money for anything important." My chest tightened. "I am using it," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I have plans, my own future." Before I could finish, Lily laughed. "Your future," she said, almost amused. "Come on, Ava, you don't even have a life." The table went silent for a second, then small chuckles. Not loud, not dramatic, but enough. Enough to break something inside me. That night, I sat in my room, staring at the ceiling. No tears, no anger, just clarity. But the real shock came the next morning. "Mom, why is my savings account empty?" I asked, my voice sharper than usual. She didn't hesitate. "We used it," she said calmly. "Used it?" Without telling me. She finally looked at me, and her words cut deeper than anything else ever had. "It's for the family, Ava. Or are you not part of this family?" That's when I understood. I wasn't their daughter. I was their backup plan, their financial safety net. And in that exact moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. And I definitely wasn't going to explain my worth anymore. Because real revenge, it doesn't scream. It doesn't warn. It waits. And then it takes everything back. And this time, I was done being the one who loses. Because what happens next is where everything starts to shift. After that night, something inside me changed. I stopped arguing. I stopped reacting. And most importantly, I stopped explaining myself. Because I finally realized something simple. People don't change just because you suffer. They change when they start losing access to you. At home, everything looked normal. But I wasn't the same Ava anymore. I still woke up early. I still went to work. I still smiled when they were around. But behind that smile, I started building something they could never see. A plan. It started small. I opened a separate bank account they didn't know about. I quietly redirected my income through a new system at work. I started tracking every single transaction they had ever taken from me. Every bill, every borrowed amount, every excuse they used. And the more I looked, the more I realized they hadn't just used me, they had depended on me, completely. One evening, my coworker Daniel Brooks noticed I was staying late again. "You've been working like crazy lately," he said, leaning against my desk. "Everything okay at home?" I almost said yes automatically, but I didn't. Instead, I said, "I'm just getting my life in order." He studied me for a second, then nodded. "If you ever need help, real help, I run financial consulting on the side." That was the moment. Not dramatic, not loud, just an opening. Over the next few weeks, Daniel helped me restructure everything. Accounts, assets, legal protections, even small investments I never understood before. And for the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving, I was building. At home, things were the same. Lily needs a new laptop. Mom wants to renovate the kitchen. Dad said we should upgrade the car. And every time they looked at me, not asked, just assumed. But now, I started saying something new. I'll see. 2 words. That's all it took for them to start getting uncomfortable. One night, my mom asked, "Why are you acting so distant lately?" I smiled slightly. "I'm just tired." But inside, I knew the truth. Distance wasn't something I created overnight. It was something they trained me into building. And slowly, very slowly, I stopped being their resource and started becoming something they never expected. A problem, because the Ava they ignored wasn't gone. She was just getting ready. And the worst part for them, they had no idea. Because this is the moment everything starts to break from their side. It began with something so small, they didn't even notice it at first. The next time my mom asked for money, I didn't say no. I didn't argue. I didn't refuse. I simply said, "Sure, but I need a breakdown of where everything is going now." Silence. My dad looked up from his plate. Lily rolled her eyes. "A breakdown," she repeated. "Seriously, Ava?" I stayed calm. "Yes," I said softly. "I just want clarity." That word, clarity, it made them uncomfortable in a way I hadn't seen before. But they agreed, because in their mind, I was still the same Ava, still manageable, still predictable, still theirs. That was their first mistake. That night I didn't sleep, not because I was stressed, but because everything was finally aligning. I was no longer guessing. I was collecting. The next morning at work, Daniel slid a folder across my desk. "All your transactions are clean now," he said. "You're officially independent from any shared financial access." I looked at him, and my family accounts. He paused. "You're still linked, but barely. One step away from full separation." That was it, the final thread. At home, things were getting louder. Lily wanted a vacation. My dad wanted a new investment. My mom wanted to expand the house. And every request now came with me in the center. "Ava will handle it." That sentence used to define me. Now it just exposed them. One evening, I came home later than usual. My mom was waiting in the kitchen. "We need to talk," she said sharply. I nodded. She crossed her arms. "You're acting different. You're questioning everything. You're making things difficult." I tilted my head slightly. "Or maybe," I said calmly, "I'm just no longer making things easy." Her expression changed. That hit harder than she expected. Before she could respond, Lily walked in. "Oh my God," she scoffed. "Here we go again. Ava thinks she's some kind of boss now." I turned to her. "No," I said quietly. "I just stopped being your solution." That room went silent. Even my dad looked up slowly. For the first time, they weren't in control of the tone anymore. I was. And that shift, it scared them. Not because I was loud, but because I wasn't. Because silence, when it stops obeying you, feels like rebellion. That night, I sat in my room again. But this time, I wasn't breaking. I was waiting, because the first crack had appeared. And now, it was only a matter of time before everything else followed. Because this is where silence stops being peace and starts becoming power. 2 days after that kitchen argument, something unexpected happened. My dad came into my room without knocking. He never did that unless something was wrong. "Ava," he said, voice tight, "there's an issue with the joint account." I looked up from my laptop slowly. "What kind of issue?" He hesitated. "Some transfers aren't going through." That was the moment I knew. The first domino had finally moved. But I didn't react. I just closed my laptop gently. "I'll check it," I said calmly. Behind me, I could feel his confusion. Because this wasn't the Ava they knew. The Ava they knew would panic. Fix it immediately. Take responsibility. But this Ava? She paused. At work, Daniel was already waiting. They noticed the restriction, he said quietly. I nodded. Good. He looked at me carefully. You realize once this fully locks, they lose access to everything tied to your profile. I know, I replied. No hesitation. No fear. Just certainty. That evening, things escalated at home. My mom was pacing in the living room. Why are payments failing? The credit card got declined too. Lily threw her bag on the couch. This is embarrassing. I tried buying something online and it got rejected. All eyes turned to me. My dad's voice was sharp now. Ava, fix this. I looked at him. Not angry, not emotional, just clear. No. That one word changed the atmosphere instantly. My mom froze. What do you mean, no? I stood up slowly. I mean, I'm not fixing anything anymore until I understand exactly what I'm responsible for. Lily laughed again, but this time it was weaker. You're being dramatic. I turned to her. No, I said softly. I'm being absent from your system. Silence. Heavy silence. My dad stepped forward. You're part of this family. You don't get to just. I interrupted him. I was part of this family when I was paying for it. That line landed. Hard. Even he didn't respond immediately. Because, deep down, they all knew it was true. I walked back to my room. And for the first time, no one followed me. No shouting. No demands. No control. Just confusion left behind. And confusion is the beginning of fear. That night, Lily knocked on my door. Her voice was different. Can you just fix it? Please. I didn't open the door. I just said, no. A long pause. Then footsteps. Walking away. And that was the moment I realized. They weren't angry anymore. They were uncertain. And uncertain people start making mistakes. Big ones. Now, there's no pretending left. The next morning started differently. No one was talking at breakfast. No demands. No instructions. No, Ava, handle this. Just silence. But it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. My dad finally broke it. We need answers, he said firmly. I looked up. Then ask the right questions, I replied. That sentence changed his expression instantly. For the first time, he didn't have control over the conversation. My mom placed her cup down slowly. Are you punishing us? She asked. I shook my head. No. A pause. I'm just no longer participating in something I never agreed to. Lily scoffed. So what? You're just going to destroy the family over money. I turned to her. No, I said calmly. I'm stopping the part where only one person was carrying it. That hit differently, because deep down they knew. They just never said it out loud. That afternoon, my dad got a call. I didn't hear the full conversation, but I saw his face change. Confusion, then frustration, then something closer to panic. He hung up and looked at me. What did you do? I tilted my head slightly. Nothing illegal, I said. Just finally separated my financial liability from misuse. Silence. My mom stepped forward. Misuse. I nodded. Yes. And for the first time, I opened my laptop in front of them. Slowly, deliberately, I turned the screen. All transactions, all transfers, all withdrawals. Every single time they had taken without asking. Line by line. Their expressions changed as they realized. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was documented. My mom's voice softened. Ava, we were your family. I looked at her. That's exactly why it hurt more. Lily's voice cracked slightly. You're really doing this to us? I stood up. No, I said. You did it when you assumed I had no choice. That room went quiet again. But this time it wasn't denial. It was realization. Because they finally understood. I wasn't threatening them. I was simply no longer protecting them from consequences. That evening I packed a small bag. My dad watched silently. You're leaving, he asked. I paused at the door. No, I said. I'm just stepping out of a system I was never truly part of. I looked at them one last time. Not angry. Not emotional. Just finished. And then I added softly, Now, you'll finally learn what life looks like without me holding it together. And I walked out. This is where everything ends and everything begins again. 2 weeks after I left, I didn't get a single call. At first. Then the calls started. My mom, my dad, even Lily. But I didn't rush back. I didn't respond emotionally. Because for the first time in my life, I was no longer the emergency button they could press whenever things went wrong. At my new apartment, things were different. Quiet. Simple. Mine. With Daniel's help, I had officially separated everything. Financially, legally, emotionally. Not revenge out of anger, but structure out of truth. One evening, Daniel looked at me across the table. "They're struggling," he said carefully. I nodded. "I expected that." He hesitated. "Do you feel guilty?" That question stayed in the air for a moment. I thought about it. Not the past, not the pain, just the truth. "No," I said finally, "because I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped holding it together." At that exact moment, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Silence, then my dad's voice. "Ava." He sounded different. Not angry. Tired. "We can't manage everything, the accounts, the bills. Everything is falling apart." I closed my eyes briefly, because this was the moment they finally understood. Not what they lost, but who they lost. "I know," I said quietly. Another pause. Then my mom's voice came through the phone. "Can you come back? We'll fix things." I stood up and walked toward the window, looking outside. "No," I said softly. A long silence followed. Lily finally spoke. "We didn't mean to hurt you." That line. I had heard it before, but now it had weight. Still, I didn't change my answer. "I know," I said again. "But impact doesn't disappear just because intention was missing." Silence. No arguments left. No manipulation left. Just reality. I ended the call, and for the first time, my hands didn't shake. A week later, I got one last message from Lily. "We didn't realize how much you were doing until you stopped." I read it once, then closed my phone, because that's the truth. Most people only learn too late. Not when someone leaves, but when they stop being invisible support. Months later, I wasn't the same Ava who begged for approval. I wasn't the one fixing everything in silence. I was building something new. For myself. Not as revenge, but as replacement. Because the real ending wasn't destruction. It was replacement of dependency with independence. And somewhere deep down, they finally understood. They didn't lose me because I left. They lost me the moment they decided I was replaceable. Thank you for watching Emotions Unfolded. If this story hit you, don't forget to subscribe.